The storm came without warning to the mountain city of HFY. Lightning cut across the purple sky like angry claws. Thunder shook the ancient stone buildings. Rain fell so hard that it hurt the skin of anyone caught outside. This was the Night of Scales, the most important night for the dragons of Vathor. On this night, eggs that had been warming for 300 years would finally crack open. New life would enter the world. Families would grow. The future would begin. The great rookery sat at the top of the mountain. It was a massive building made of black stone and gold metal. Inside, thousands of dragon eggs rested on heated platforms. Each egg belonged to a clan. Each egg had been watched and protected and loved for centuries. Dragon elders walked between the rows, singing the old songs that helped the babies know it was time to wake up. But the storm did not care about tradition. The storm did not care about centuries of waiting. The storm only knew how to destroy. Lightning struck the rookery's eastern tower. Stone exploded. Fire spread across the ceiling. Dragons screamed and tried to protect their eggs. In the chaos, no one saw a single dark egg roll off its platform. No one heard it crack against the floor. No one watched it tumble through a broken window and fall down the mountainside. The egg bounced and rolled through mud and rocks. It fell for a long time. When it finally stopped at the edge of the lower city, the shell was cracked in many places. Cold rain poured through the cracks. Inside the egg, something moved. A tiny claw pushed through the shell. Then another. A small head emerged, covered in black scales that shone like wet night. Two golden eyes opened for the first time and saw only darkness and rain and cold. The hatchling was female. She was smaller than she should have been because she had hatched too early. One of her wings was torn where a sharp piece of shell had cut it. Blood mixed with rain on her scales. She was freezing. She was hurt. She was completely alone. Her name, if anyone had been there to give her one, would have been Ixari. Dragon hatchlings are not like the babies of other species. They are born with knowledge already in their minds. They know how to walk. They know how to hunt. They know one thing above all else. They must bond with someone within hours of hatching, or they will fade away and die. Ixari sent out her mind call. It was not words. Hatchlings cannot speak yet. It was pure feeling, a cry that any dragon should be able to hear. I am here. I am alone. Please find me. Please. No answer came. The storm was too loud. The rookery was too far away. Her cry disappeared into the wind like smoke. Cold entered her body. It moved through her blood like poison. Dragons are creatures of fire, but she had no fire yet. She was too young. All she had was cold and pain and fear. But she also had instinct. An instinct told her to move, to find warmth, to find someone. She crawled forward on shaking legs. Her torn wing dragged behind her in the mud. Every step hurt. But she kept moving because stopping meant dying, and something inside her refused to die. The lower city of HFY was home to many species. The Vath lived here, tall beings with 4 arms and skin like blue leather. The Kraliks made their homes here too, insect-like creatures who spoke in clicks and hisses. There were others as well, species from across the Galactic Confederation who had come to Vathor for trade or work or simply because they had nowhere else to go. Ixari reached the first door. It was made of metal and had strange symbols painted on it. She pressed her body against it, trying to feel any warmth from inside. She pushed her mind call toward whoever lived there. Help me. Please, I am cold. The door opened. A Vath merchant looked down at her. His 4 eyes went wide when he saw what she was. A dragon hatchling, alone, without clan markings, without anyone to claim her. Go away, he said. His voice was afraid. You bring bad luck. Unbonded dragons are cursed. Go away. He slammed the door so hard that Ixari fell backward into a puddle. She did not understand. Why would he not help her? She was just a baby. She was hurt. Could he not see that she needed him? But she could not stay in the puddle. The cold was getting worse. She pulled herself up and crawled to the next door. This one was made of wood. Krallic symbols covered every inch of it. Ixari scratched at it weakly with her claws. The door opened a small amount. A Krallic's face appeared in the gap. Its many eyes looked at her. Its mouth parts clicked in disgust. Clamless thing, it hissed. You should not exist. Leave this place before you curse our children. The door closed. Ixari crawled to the third door, then the fourth, then the fifth. Each time she sent out her mind call. Each time she begged for help. Each time she was rejected. The Vaith would not help her because unbonded dragons were bad omens. The Krallics would not help her because she had no clan. A family of Torvani, large furry beings from the outer planets, told her that helping a clanless dragon would anger the dragon clans, and they could not risk that. Amashi, a small creature made of living crystal, simply pretended it could not see her at all. Door after door closed in her face. Ixari's mind call grew weaker. Her body was shutting down. Ice had formed on her scales. She could no longer feel her torn wing. Her golden eyes, so bright when she first opened them, were growing dull. She had maybe an hour left to live. Perhaps less. She crawled past a sign she could not read. The buildings here looked different, simpler. The symbols on the doors were strange shapes she had never seen before. She had entered the human quarter. The other species of Vathor avoided this place. Humans were newcomers to the Galactic Confederation. They had no telepathy. They had no claws or scales or special powers. They were soft, unbreakable, and died after only 100 years. They were, in the opinion of most species, not worth thinking about. Ixari did not know any of this. She only knew that there was one more door in front of her. Her legs would not work anymore. She collapsed against it and sent out one final mind call. It was barely a whisper now, just raw feeling, cold, hurt, alone, please. Then her eyes closed, and she waited to die. The door opened. Marcus Chen was 52 years old. He had gray in his hair and lines on his face that had not been there 5 years ago. He was an exobiologist, which meant he studied the animals and plants of other worlds. The Galactic Confederation had sent him to Vathor 3 years ago to research the local wildlife. It was important work. Necessary work, Dot. It was also work that let him stay far away from Earth, where everything reminded him of his daughter. Lily had been 9 years old when the sickness took her. Marcus had held her hand in the hospital for 11 days. He had told her stories about the stars and the creatures that lived on other worlds. He had promised her that one day they would travel together and see everything. On the 12th day, she closed her eyes and did not open them again after that. Marcus asked for any assignment that would take him away from Earth. The farther the better. Vathor was very far. That was good. Here, nothing reminded him of Lily's laugh or the way she used to draw pictures of aliens in her notebook or the empty room in his apartment back home that he could not bear to enter. Here. He was just a strange human who lived in the lower quarter. The one who walked alone and talked to himself and sometimes cried at night when he thought no one could hear. It was the Night of Scales, but Marcus did not know what that meant. He knew there was a storm. He knew he should stay inside. He was reading a report on his computer screen when he heard something at his door. Not a knock. More like a scratching sound. Then a soft thump as if something had fallen against the door. Marcus got up. He was not expecting anyone. Humans were not popular on Vathor, and he had no friends among the other species. Perhaps something had blown against his door in the wind. He opened it. At first, he did not understand what he was seeing. A small dark shape lay curled against his doorstep. It was about the size of a large cat. Scales covered its body, black and shining with rain. Two small wings were folded against its back. The one of them looked wrong, torn and bleeding. Its eyes were closed. It was not moving. Marcus had studied many creatures on many worlds. He recognized what this was. A dragon hatchling, one of the most protected beings in the entire Confederation. Each one was precious beyond measure. Each one belonged to a powerful clan, but this one was alone. Heard. Dying. Marcus did not think about clans or politics or what the other species might say. He saw a baby that needed help. That was all that mattered. He knelt down in the rain. "Hey, little one," he said softly. "Let's get you warm." He picked her up as gently as he could. She weighed almost nothing. Her body was cold, so cold that it shocked him. How long had she been out in this storm? How was she still alive? He carried her inside and closed the door against the wind. His apartment was small. Just a few rooms filled with research equipment and books and the lonely belongings of a man who had stopped caring about comfort. But it was warm. That was what mattered. Marcus wrapped the hatchling in his softest blanket. He turned up the heating unit as high as it would go. He examined her wing and saw the wound there, deep and dangerous. He was not a doctor, but he knew some basic medicine. He cleaned the wound and covered it with healing gel from his first aid kit. The hatchling did not wake up. Her breathing was weak. Her heartbeat, when he put his ear to her chest, was slow and fading. "Come on," Marcus whispered. "Stay with me." He did not know if she could hear him. Dragons were telepathic, but humans were not. The scientific papers said there was no way for humans to connect with dragon minds. They simply lacked the necessary biology, but Marcus talked to her anyway. "I know you're tired," he said. "I know you want to sleep, but you have to fight, okay? You have to keep trying. I know it's hard. Believe me, I know how hard it is to keep going when everything hurts. But you can do it. I believe in you." He talked through the night. He told her about Earth and its blue oceans. He told her about the mountains he used to climb when he was young. He told her about Lily, about her drawings, about how she always wanted to meet an alien. "She would have loved you," Marcus said, his voice breaking. "She would have thought you were the most beautiful thing in the universe." The storm raged outside. Inside, Marcus held the blanket bundle against his chest and willed warmth into the tiny body inside. Hours passed. Marcus did not sleep. He could not sleep. Every time the hatchling's breathing stuttered, his heart stopped. Every time she moved a little, hope sparked in his chest. Near dawn, she opened her eyes. Golden eyes looked up at Marcus. They were confused at first, then afraid. Then something else, something Marcus could not name. The hatchling made a small sound. Not a word. More like a question. "You're safe," Marcus told her. "I've got you." "Huh. You're going to be okay." He did not know if she understood his words. But something passed between them in that moment. Something strange and new and impossible. Ixari felt the human's mind. This should not have been possible. Humans had no telepathy. Their minds were closed doors that could not be opened. But somehow, she felt him. Not his thoughts. Something deeper. His feelings. His heart. She felt his grief, vast and deep like an ocean. She felt his loneliness, cold as the storm outside. But under all of that, she felt something else. Warmth, kindness, a desperate, stubborn hope that refused to die. This being had lost something precious. She could feel the shape of that loss in his soul. But instead of closing himself off, he had opened his door. He had found her. He had saved her. Dragon bonding requires telepathic resonance. Two minds must touch and recognize each other. The connection forms like lightning jumping between clouds. What happened between Ixari and Marcus was different. It was not two minds connecting. It was two hearts recognizing each other. Two wounded souls finding comfort in the same place. The bond formed anyway. Ixari felt it snap into place like a key turning in a lock. Suddenly, the human was part of her. His warmth was her warmth. His heartbeat was her heartbeat. She would never be alone again because he was there, would always be there, a presence in her mind that felt like safety and home and love. Marcus felt it too. Something changed in his chest. The empty place that Lily had left behind did not fill exactly. That space would always belong to his daughter. But next to it, a new space opened. And in that space was a small dragon hatchling who needed him. "Well," Marcus said quietly, "I guess you're staying." Ixari pressed her head against his hand. She did not have words yet, but she had feelings, and she pushed them toward him. "Thank you. Stay. Mine." Marcus laughed. It was the first time he had laughed in 3 years. "Yeah," he said. "Yours. I can work with that." Outside, the storm finally began to fade. The sun rose over the mountains of Vather, and in a small apartment in the human quarter, a man and a dragon began their impossible life together. They had 2 hours of peace before someone came knocking at the door. The knock was loud and demanding. Marcus was feeding Ixari small pieces of protein paste when it came. The hatchling had refused to eat meat, which surprised him. Dragons were supposed to be carnivores. But she seemed happy with the paste, so he did not push. He opened the door to find 4 dragons standing outside. They were adults, massive and terrifying. Each one was taller than Marcus's apartment. Their scales were different colors: red, silver, deep blue, and green. Their eyes burned with ancient intelligence. Behind them stood several soldiers from the city guard, keeping curious neighbors away. The red dragon stepped forward. She lowered her enormous head to look at Marcus directly. When she spoke, her voice was like thunder mixed with music. "Human, we have detected a newly bonded hatchling in this location. Explain yourself." Marcus felt his heart pounding, but he kept his voice calm. "There's a hatchling here, yes. I found her dying on my doorstep last night. I brought her inside and cared for." The dragons exchanged looks. The silver one spoke next. His voice was colder than the red dragon's. "That is not possible. Humans cannot bond with dragons. You lack the mental capacity." "I don't know what to tell you," Marcus said. "I just know that she was hurt and alone, and I helped her. That's all." The green dragon pushed forward. Her eyes were scanning the room behind Marcus. "Where is the hatchling now?" "We will take her to the rookery. She will be properly bonded with a dragon of suitable lineage." Marcus felt something twist in his chest. It took him a moment to realize it was not his own feeling. It was coming from Ixari. Fear. Desperate fear. He looked back and saw her hiding under the blanket, her golden eyes wide with terror. She pushed feelings toward him. "Don't let them take me. Stay. Please. Ours." Marcus turned back to the dragons. "No." The word hung in the air like a dropped stone. The red dragon blinked. "No? Human, you do not understand. Dragon hatchlings must be raised by dragons. This is our law for 10,000 years. You cannot simply keep her." "She's bonded to me," Marcus said. "You said it yourself. You detected it. Whatever happened last night, she's mine now. I'm not giving her up." "The bond can be broken," the silver dragon said. "Our telepaths can sever the connection. The hatchling will survive. You probably will as well. Probably. There is some risk. But it is a small price for correcting this abnormality. Marcus felt Ixari's fear spike. He felt her pressing closer to him through their bond, like a child hiding behind a parent. He had known her for only hours, but in that time, she had become part of him. "No," he said again. "She stays with me." The dragons stared at him. They were not used to being refused. They were not used to small, soft creatures standing in their way. For a long moment, Marcus thought they might simply push past him and take Ixari by force. Then the blue dragon, who had been silent until now, spoke up. Her voice was quieter than the others, thoughtful. "Let me see the hatchling." Marcus hesitated, but the blue dragon's mind brushed against his, and he felt no hostility there, only curiosity. He stepped aside. The blue dragon lowered her head and looked at Ixari. The hatchling trembled, but did not run. The two dragons stared at each other for a long moment. Something passed between them that Marcus could not understand. Finally, the blue dragon pulled back. Her eyes were wide with shock. "The bond is genuine," she said. "I have examined it. It is not like our bonds, but it is real. It is deep. Perhaps deeper than any I have seen in a hatchling so young." The red dragon made a sound of disbelief. "That is impossible." "I am telling you what I see," the blue dragon replied. "If we break this bond, we will kill them both. The connection is too strong." Silence fell over the group. The silver dragon looked angry. The green dragon looked confused. The red dragon looked like she was trying to solve a puzzle that made no sense. "How?" the red dragon finally asked. "Humans have no telepathy. How could this bond form?" "I do not know," the blue dragon admitted. "Perhaps there is something about humans we do not understand. Perhaps the storm disrupted normal patterns. Perhaps this hatchling is unusual in some way. Whatever the reason, the bond exists. We cannot undo it without murder." The silver dragon turned to Marcus. "You understand what this means? If you keep this hatchling, you will be responsible for raising a dragon. You will face challenges you cannot imagine. Our society will not accept you. Your own species will think you are strange." Marcus thought about Lily. He thought about her empty room and her unused toys and the silence that had followed her death. He thought about 3 years of running away from everything that mattered. "I'm not giving her up," he said. "I don't care how hard it is. I don't care what anyone thinks. She chose me. I choose her back." Ixari made a sound from behind him. It was small and soft, almost like crying. But through their bond, Marcus felt what she was really expressing: joy. Pure, overwhelming joy. Someone wanted her. Someone would fight for her. She was not alone anymore. The red dragon studied Marcus for a long time. Finally, she nodded slowly. "Very well, human. The council will hear of this. There will be consequences. But for now, the hatchling stays with you." She paused. "What is your name?" "Marcus." "Marcus Chen. Marcus Chen, you have claimed responsibility for a dragon hatchling. Our law says that any who claim such responsibility must prove their worth. You will face the trial of worth in 30 days. Marcus felt his stomach drop. Trial of worth? 3 tests designed to prove you are capable of raising a dragon. If you pass, you will be recognized as her guardian. If you fail, the red dragon's eyes grew cold. You will die, and the hatchling will be given to a proper clan. And if I refuse to take the trial, then we take the hatchling now. The bond will kill you both, but at least it will be quick." Marcus looked back at Ixari. She was watching him with her golden eyes. She could not speak yet, but he felt her meaning clearly. "Whatever you decide, I am with you." He turned back to the dragons. 30 days. I'll be ready." The red dragon nodded. Something that might have been respect flickered in her eyes. "We shall see, human. We shall see." The dragons left. The soldiers followed. Marcus closed his door and leaned against it, breathing hard. Ixari crawled out from under the blanket and pressed against his legs. He picked her up and held her close. "Well," he said, "looks like we've got some training to do." She pushed warmth toward him through their bond. Trust, hope, love. Marcus smiled, despite everything. "Yeah," he said. "I love you too, little one. Now let's figure out how to not die." Outside, the sun continued to rise over Vather. And somewhere in the city, the Dragon Council began to prepare tests that no human had ever faced before. They expected Marcus to fail. They expected the strange human to break. They did not understand what they were dealing with. They had never seen what a human could do when they had something worth fighting for. They were about to learn. The arena was carved into the side of the mountain. Thousands of dragons sat on stone ledges, their scales catching the morning light like colored fire. In the center of the arena, Marcus stood alone. He looked very small, surrounded by all those ancient eyes. The 30 days had passed quickly. Marcus had used every hour to prepare. He had studied dragon history. He had learned their customs. He had trained his body until his muscles screamed. Through it all, Ixari had stayed by his side, growing stronger every day. Her wing had healed. Her scales had darkened to pure black. She was still small, but she was no longer dying. Now she sat in a special box with the other young dragons. Watching her human face his trial, the red dragon from before rose from her seat. Her name was Veilora, and she was the head of the Dragon Council. Her voice echoed across the arena. "Marcus Chen of Earth, you have claimed guardianship of the hatchling called Ixari. Today, you will prove your worth through 3 trials. The trial of fire, the trial of mind, the trial of combat. If you survive all 3, you will be recognized as her guardian. Do you understand?" Marcus nodded. "I understand. Then let us begin." The first trial started immediately. A wall of flame erupted from the ground, surrounding Marcus in a circle of fire. The heat was terrible. His skin turned red immediately. The crowd watched in silence as the flames moved closer, shrinking the circle dot in the special box. Ixari cried out. She tried to fly to him, but other dragons held her back. Through their bond, she felt his fear. But under the fear, she felt something else. Determination. Marcus did not try to escape the fire. That was what the dragons expected. They expected him to run and fail. Instead, he stood still and looked at the flames. He had studied this trial. He knew what it was really testing. Dragons respected fire. They were born from it. A guardian must be willing to face fire for their charge. Marcus walked forward. The flames touched his arms. His shirt caught fire. Pain exploded through his body. But he kept walking. One step, then another. His skin blistered. His hair began to burn. Still, he walked. Almost through, he whispered to himself. Or maybe to Ixari, through their bond. Almost through, little one. He emerged from the other side of the fire and fell to his knees. His body was covered in burns. He was shaking with pain, but he was alive. He had passed the first trial. The crowd was silent. No human should have survived that. No human should have had the will to walk through fire. Velora's eyes narrowed. The trial of fire is past. Begin the trial of mind. 4 dragons descended from the crowd. They were telepaths, specialists in breaking minds. They surrounded Marcus, who was still kneeling on the ground, and began their attack. Pain flooded Marcus's mind. Not physical pain this time, but something worse. Images forced their way into his thoughts. His failures. His regrets. Every mistake he had ever made played out before his eyes in terrible detail. Then came the worst memory of all. Lily in the hospital bed. Lily closing her eyes. Lily dying while Marcus held her hand and begged her to stay. The telepaths pushed harder. They expected this memory to break him. They expected him to scream and surrender. What human could endure such pain? But Marcus had lived with this memory for 3 years. He had carried it every day. He had learned to hold it without being destroyed by it. The telepaths found something they did not expect. They found that Marcus had already broken once, when Lily died. They found that he had put himself back together, piece by piece, day by day. They found grief that had become armor, sorrow that had transformed into strength. They pushed harder. Marcus pushed back. "You think this will break me?" he said through gritted teeth. "I've already survived the worst thing. I watched my daughter die. Nothing you show me will ever hurt more than that. And I'm still here. I'm still standing. Because giving up was never an option." The telepaths looked at each other. They had never encountered a mind like this. A mind that had been shattered and rebuilt itself stronger than before. One by one, they withdrew. "The trial of mind is past," Valora announced. Her voice was quieter now. "Begin the trial of combat." A dragon warrior descended into the arena. He was young and strong, with scales the color of bronze. His name was Kethrax, and he had never lost a fight. He carried no weapons, because dragons did not need them. His claws were sharper than any sword. Marcus stood up on shaking legs. His burns screamed with every movement. His mind was exhausted from the telepathic assault. He looked at the massive warrior before him and knew he could not win a physical fight, so he did not try to fight. "Hello," Marcus said. "What's your name?" Kethrax paused. This was not how the trial usually went. Challengers begged for mercy or fought desperately. They did not ask questions. "I am Kethrax," he said slowly. "Why do you ask?" "Because I want to know who I'm talking to." "Do you have a family?" "I have a clutch. 3 younger siblings." "That's wonderful. What are they like?" Kethrax blinked. The crowd murmured in confusion. What was the human doing? "My youngest sister wants to be a healer," Kethrax found himself saying. "My brother wants to explore distant stars. My other sister has not decided yet." "They sound amazing," Marcus said. "You must be proud of them." "I am," Kethrax shook his head. "Why are you doing this? You should be fighting me." "Why would I fight you? You're not my enemy. You're just someone doing his job. You have a family you love. You have dreams and hopes. Fighting you wouldn't prove I'm worthy of being a guardian. It would just prove I'm willing to hurt someone who has done nothing wrong." Kethrax stared at the human. The burns on his body, the exhaustion in his eyes, the absolute refusal to treat this as a battle. "I don't understand you," Kethrax said. "That's okay," Marcus replied. "You don't have to understand me. You just have to ask yourself one question. Is hurting a burned, tired human who just wants to protect the baby dragon really the kind of warrior you want to be?" Silence stretched across the arena. Kethrax looked at Marcus. He looked at the special box where Ixari was watching with desperate hope. He looked at his own claws, sharp enough to end this human's life in a single strike. Then he lowered his head. "I yield," Kethrax said. "I will not fight someone who treats me as a person instead of an obstacle." The crowd erupted. Dragons shouted in protest. This was not how the trial was supposed to end. The human had cheated. He had used tricks instead of strength. But Valora raised her wing and silence fell. "Kethrax has yielded," she announced. "The trial of combat is past." She looked at Marcus with something new in her ancient eyes. "Marcus Chen of Earth, you have survived fire through will. You have survived mind attack through resilience. You have survived combat through something I have never seen before. What's that?" Marcus asked. Connection, Valora said. You saw my warrior as a person, not an enemy. You found common ground instead of conflict. She paused. Perhaps humans are not as limited as we believed. She rose to her full height. By the authority of the Dragon Council, I declare Marcus Chun to be the guardian of Ixari. Let no one challenge his right. Let no one question his worth. He has proven himself in ways that our trials were not designed to measure. In the special box, Ixari burst free from the dragons holding her. She flew across the arena on wings that were still learning to work. She crashed into Marcus and knocked him to the ground. She was crying. So was he. We did it, Marcus whispered. We did it, little one. Ixari pressed her head against his chest and sent him everything she was feeling. Love, pride, joy, home dot above them. Thousands of dragons watched in silence. They had expected the human to fail. They had expected him to prove that his kind was weak and worthless. Instead, they had learned something new about humans. Something that would change everything. Humans did not win by being stronger. They did not win by being faster or smarter or more powerful. They won by refusing to give up. They won by seeing people instead of enemies. They won by loving with a fierceness that nothing could destroy. The dragons did not know it yet, but this was only the beginning. Marcus and Ixari would change their world, all because one human had opened his door on a stormy night. 20 years passed like water flowing downhill. Fast at first, then slower, then fast again. Time moved differently when you had someone to share it with. Marcus Chen was 72 years old now. His hair was completely white. His face was a map of wrinkles and laugh lines. The burn scars from his trial had faded but never disappeared. He wore them like medals. Ixari was no longer a hatchling. She had grown into a magnificent dragon with scales like polished obsidian and wings that blocked out the sun when she spread them. Her voice had developed into something beautiful, a mix of thunder and silk. She was one of the most respected dragons of her generation. But some things had not changed. She still pressed her head against Marcus's hand when she was happy. She still sent him warmth through their bond when he was sad. She still called him hers, and he still called her his little one, even though she was now larger than his entire apartment building. Their life together had not been easy. The first years were full of challenges. Dragon society did not know what to do with a human guardian. They faced insults and doubts and endless questions. Some dragons thought the bond was a mistake. Some thought it was a miracle. Most just thought it was very strange. But Marcus and Ixari proved themselves again and again. She attended dragon academies and human schools. He learned dragon history and taught her human philosophy. They built a life between two worlds, and slowly, people began to accept them. More than accept them. They began to admire them. Ajori became a symbol of change. She was the dragon who loved a human, who saw worth in a species everyone else dismissed. She spoke at conferences and councils. She argued for cooperation between species. She changed minds one conversation at a time. And through it all, Marcus was there, cheering for her, believing in her, reminding her that worth was not measured by scales or claws or telepathy. Worth was measured by how you treated others when no one was watching. Now, 20 years after the night they met, Ixari was about to face her greatest challenge. The Galactic Assembly was meeting on Vathor. Representatives from every species in the Confederation had gathered to debate a controversial question. Should humans be granted full membership in the Confederation? Many species said no. Humans were too young, too weak, too different. They had nothing to offer. They would be a burden. The debate had gone on for 3 days. Voices had been raised. Arguments had grown heated. No resolution had been reached. On the fourth day, HFY asked to speak. The assembly hall was enormous, built to hold beings of every size. Thousands of representatives sat in curved rows that rose toward a ceiling painted with stars. At the center of the hall stood a platform where speakers addressed the crowd. HFY walked to that platform. She was nervous, but she did not show it. Marcus sat in the visitor gallery above, his old hands gripping the railing. Through their bond, she felt his pride, his love, his absolute faith in her. She began to speak. 20 years ago, I was dying on a doorstep. I was a hatchling without a clan, without a name, without anyone who would claim me. I went from door to door, begging for help. Every door closed in my face. The Vaith said I was bad luck. The Kralik said I was cursed. No one would help a creature that did not belong to them. She paused. The hall was silent. Then I reached a door in the human quarter. I had no strength left. I could not even knock. I just lay there, sending out a weak cry for help. And the door opened. She looked up at Marcus. A human opened his door. He did not know what I was. He did not care what clan I belonged to. He did not ask what I could offer him. He saw a baby that was cold and hurt and alone, and he carried me inside. He stayed with me through the night. He talked to me until sunrise. He refused to let me die. Tears were forming in her golden eyes. She did not wipe them away. You ask what humans have to offer at the Confederation. I will tell you. They offer the willingness to open doors. They offer the ability to see strangers as people instead of categories. They offer a kind of love that does not measure worth before giving itself. She turned to face the assembly directly. I know humans seem weak to you. They have no telepathy. They have no claws. They live short lives and die easily. But I have lived with one for 20 years. I have studied them. I have loved them. And I tell you now that their weakness is their strength. Because they are weak, they learn to cooperate. Because they live short lives, they treasure every moment. Because they have no natural weapons, they learn to connect instead of fight. These are not limitations. These are gifts that we have been too proud to recognize. She spread her wings wide. My guardian walks through fire for me. He faced telepathic assault and did not break. He talked a warrior into yielding. He did all of this without any of the powers you consider essential. He did it with will, with heart, with the stubborn human refusal to give up. Any civilization that cannot recognize the worth of such beings has closed itself to the very thing that makes existence meaningful. Doors are meant to open, and humans are the species that opens them. She lowered her wings and looked around the hall. I am not asking you to accept humans because they are strong or useful or powerful. I am asking you to accept them because they are good. Because when a dying hatchling had nowhere else to go, a human opened his door and his heart. And that made all the difference. She stepped back from the platform. The hall remained silent for a long moment. Then Kethrak stood up. The bronze warrior had become an elder now, respected throughout the Confederation. He began to clap. The sound was strange, awkward, a human gesture that dragons rarely used. Another dragon stood and joined him. Then a Vaith, then a Kralix. One by one, representatives across the hall rose to their feet. The clapping grew louder. It became applause, then cheering, then a roar of approval that shook the walls. The vote was held 1 hour later. Humans were granted full Confederation membership. Not for their technology, not for their strength, for something no other species had thought to measure, their capacity to care for what was not their own. That night, Marcus and HFY sat together in their home. It had grown over the years from a small apartment to a larger house built specially for them. Part of it was human-sized. Part of it was dragon-sized. All of it was theirs. Marcus made tea while Ixari curled around his chair. She was too large now to fit in his lap, but she still tried sometimes. It always made him laugh. "I'm proud of you," he said quietly. She pressed her snout against his hand. Through their bond, she sent him warmth and love and a feeling she did not have words for. Something like home. Something like completion. "I learned it from you," she said. "You taught me that doors open both ways." Marcus smiled. He was old now, tired. He knew he did not have many years left. Human lives were short, just as the other species always said. But he had spent his years well. He had opened the door on a stormy night, and everything had changed. "Thank you," he said, "for choosing me, for staying with me, for becoming this incredible person." "Thank you for carrying me inside," she replied, "for never giving up, for showing me what love looks like." They sat together in comfortable silence. Outside, the stars of Vathor shone bright and cold. Inside, there was warmth. There was family. There was everything that mattered. Marcus closed his eyes. Through their bond, he felt Ixari's heartbeat, steady and strong. He felt her love surrounding him like a blanket. He had lost his daughter. He had run away from Earth. He had been broken and lonely and ready to give up. Then a dying dragon had fallen against his door, and he had opened it. That was all it took. One open door. One act of kindness. One person willing to help a stranger. The universe was cold and vast and full of closed doors. But here and there, lights burned in windows. Hands reached out to those who were lost. Doors opened to those who had nowhere else to go. Humans were good at opening doors. It was, perhaps, the best thing about them. And in a house built for a man and a dragon, on a world where impossible things had become ordinary, two souls rested together. Home at last. Home forever. The end.